Controversy to the highest degree. Diablo started out, unlike many games the past couple years, kind of good. Some would say it was a little, you know, as far as like when we look back at like Halo Infinite with its release. What was that one by From Software? That game that came out, everybody was super hyped for it, complete trash, couldn't even play it. Diablo 4 was playable, but it was playable. And then they're like, hey, we have a great fan base. They're really supporting the game, loving what, you know, what's going on this preseason. Let's ruin that. How do we do it? Let's nerf everybody. Is that it? No. Let's buff the enemies too. Let's buff the enemies, nerf everybody, and just say to the fans, that's us, to the people who play the game. So, why did they do that? I don't know. What's good, Guy? I appreciate you. Like we do when I remember at the beginning of each streams. Like to shout out the members. Guy, you just reminded me to shout out members. Guy, Rouge, Tect, and Plaid. We only have 4, so I can memorize them off the top of my head so far. We're good. I appreciate each and every single one of you. You will forever hold a special place in my heart, being the first, I don't know, first 10 are apostles, essentially, right? If we look back at Jesus, shout out. Also, I wanted to point something out here. They nerfed everything, dude. They nerfed everything. Is live chat, I was gonna be full screen. I was gonna, you know, we're gonna start like this, obviously, as you would. But then I noticed up here, I'd like you to, you know, put your eyes right on the top right. Do they usually have chat disabled? Because we've done watch-alongs for like Halo Infinite and stuff like that. Chat was not disabled. I remember that specifically. This might be the first watch-along of like a fireside chat where there's no comment. Like we can't comment. That's bold. Because a lot of people have a lot of stuff to say, and for you to be like, you know what, we're not even gonna give them the option, because I know you have to tick that. I know for sure that you're like, no. So I'm really, oh, we got a shout out, we got a gifted sub from one guy. Oh, I see it here. I'll wait for the noti to pop up. It's more exciting that way. More exciting that way. I'll wait. Australians, get ready. Please get up, Australians. Get up and start speaking. Oh, wait. No, what's here? What the hell? I can't tell you why that's not popping up. Oh, there it is. Audio is above it. Hold on, we gotta replay that. Can we replay that? That pisses me off so much. We got a double one, apparently. Ghost has become a member. Shout out, Guy, for giving a go. I just realized the audio, like my audio shit, was on top, and somehow an invisible thing like audio blocked everything. So shout out that invisible audio thing for ruining a gifted notification. Shout out, Guy. And congrats, Blessed. YouTube. I believe it's who's in chat, but it essentially looks at like who's here, and of the people here, who supports the channel the most, and they pick that person. Is how I've been led to believe how the gifted work on YouTube. So that's a shout out to you, Blessed, for supporting a lot, dude. So shout out you, shout out Guy. I appreciate the hell out of both of you. We got 5, dude. Oh my god, that pumps me up. 6 minutes and 11 seconds until they better answer some questions. Now, I was listening to Asmongold today. He had a really good take about it. He had a one-liner that I liked a lot. He goes, "What if one day you woke up and you were just missing an inch of your dick? What if just an inch of your dick was gone? That you just woke up and you're just like, what the hell?" That's how the Diablo 4 community feels, especially those who aren't doing seasonal. If you're just stuck in Eternal, think about it. You don't get the maligned hearts, which are essentially designed to reverse what the nerfs that they did. In the Eternal realm, you don't even get those. And so you just accept the nerfs like a skinny guy that went to prison. You know, like, what are we doing? You can't do that. who's his name? Jukes has been following the Metacritic. Once he's here back, he'll be able to update us on like where it started. But I'm pretty sure it started over 4. I know it was high 3s minimum, but I'm pretty sure it was over 4. It's down to 2.3. I looked it up. There was 32 pages of negative reviews, like 3,000, a little over 3,000, right? 23 and a half of those 32 pages were in the last 8 days. You done messed up, son. You done messed up, Bobby. Catch up on chat. I'm getting really mad at Bobby. Shout out again, guy. I appreciate the hell out of you. The energy you've brought since discovering this channel, dude. I appreciate you. I really do. We gotta make it harder for you to memorize, though. I'll let you guys know. I will be 100% honest with you. I feel like that's something that I do offer is like transparency, you know? I will be 100% honest the day that I can't memorize them all, but just know that I am stubborn as hell. Extremely. And like, for my job currently, I just drive around, excuse me, for hours. So it's gonna have to be over 100. Bet. Like, I will be able to knock out 100 off of the dome piece. Know this. 101, we might be a little scary, you know? I'll be like, oh man, what is that? Will I do it alphabetically? Probably. Would it be more impressive if I did it by date? Yeah, it would. I'm currently on small blessings. Yeah, it got to the point for me where I was looking up, because this is, I believe, I'm 99% sure, the first Diablo to release with more than 4 quests. I'm pretty sure Diablo 1 only opened up with 4. I can't remember what Diablo 3 opened up with. I'm 90% sure Diablo 2 opened up because the expansions came out. Like, Diablo 2 got the Necro, I want to say. Don't quote me, it's been a long time. But the Diablo 2, they both got expansions that in turn gave you the final act. So it's funny that people are talking. I saw a couple of reviews that was like, oh, you're paying for, you know, a game where story's not complete. That's very common in Diablo. They constantly, like, you would essentially finish the first game, excuse me, beating Diablo, and then like Baal and Diablo 2 would come up afterwards as the expansion. Mephisto and Diablo 3 would come up as the expansion. It was really weird not to fight. We didn't fight Diablo, right? I know there was times where I was maybe had one too many drinks while I was sitting here, so not that I get wild and say random shit, but I might forget a couple things we did. Let's be honest here. But I'm 99% sure we did not fight Diablo. But I like that we fight Andariel from Diablo 1 Diablo 1 Act 1. We fight Turiel, an upgraded version of him, which is the Act 2 or 3 boss. So Act 2 in Diablo 2. So it was cool to see them, but to not see Diablo was odd. That was odd. I did. I listened to it. So here, I'll tell you like this. I listened to it last night. Last night was not a good time for me to listen to it, and I'll tell you why. I stayed up till about 4:35 a.m. I fought the world boss about 4:30. So about 5 a.m. finishing all of the altars of Lilith and this, that, the other. And then woke up at 9:30 to stream, which you guys caught the 5 hours of that, which was not one of my best streams. I was tired as hell. I apologize. The energy was down. So I appreciate anybody that spent time yesterday. And then after that, I went to work. Now, I didn't work for that long because I admitted to myself that I needed to go to sleep. On the way home, I remembered that, you know, I forgot, Tongues by Tops. And so I looked it up, found it, I started listening to it, and it was a little too what does the fox say to me at first. I got home, it was probably 2/3 of the way done. I got in my car this morning, it popped on, nice little pick me up. I enjoyed it this morning. I sat there, kind of bopped to it a little bit. I even replayed it. It was kind of, you know, but it is a very much like, what does the fox say? You know what I mean? I didn't expect that to come out of my speakers in the state that I was in last night, tired, fed up with just, you know, life in general, being awake at the time. You know how it is when you're super tired. So, I got to catch up on chat. Weird question, which is missing and from the top of the, oh my god. One would say, logically, it would be the tip, because like that only makes sense. But what doesn't make sense is reducing vulnerable damage by 40 fucking %. So it would almost make sense that like the base just magically had an inch gone and it didn't even look like, you know what I mean? Because unless you're watching, you know, unless you kept up on the interwebs, saw how people reacted, saw the patch notes, if you just logged on and just said, oh, get this notification out of my face, I don't care about this, that, the other, I'm just gonna go play, you will look down and be like, dude, what happened? No one said anything. Now I'm just weak and dying all the time. So they're late by 2 minutes. Now I know how you guys feel. I won't stop. Does it look natural, or was it, where's my tip? I would say it looked natural. Shout out Asmon, dude. I love him so much. The New Year's stream, oh man, I did get a little shysty, but I don't think I've ever said anything. You've been here for those streams, 90% of them, Rouge. I don't think I've ever said anything wild. I'm not a very wild person, you know? No, you haven't, Jukes. What did the Metacritic start at? We talked about it earlier. I know you'll know what it started at, and I also know that you've pushed the like button and everybody else should while we wait for your response. And also, should we like or dislike this? I decided that we're going to pull. And after you do answer on the poll, be sure to, you know, explain yourself in your wild ass ways in the comments down below. Oh, great. Maybe just message me that. If I apologize for it quickly, there's a chance that something did slip out. I know it's not anything as bad as saying like the N-word. I know I haven't said that. I know I haven't said that. But I'm pretty sure if you tried hard enough, you can go back and find it. I don't think I've hid anything. Oh, thoughts on Gideon, right? Or is it Gideon? I don't know. However you pronounce the man's name. Guy's wild. You guys remember him from the whole Pokemon situation. Thoughts? No, it's not the N-word, definitely. Okay, yeah. I'm glad that you confirmed, you know, for chat, but I knew in my mind it was. I knew in my heart. I don't have that kind of energy to me. I don't have hate, you know? I don't. Even, I was talking to Mackenzie about this. I think we might even talk about it yesterday. Ooh, here it goes. Sorry, another time, guys. You'll have to remind me. Sorry, I had to feed my dog too.
Because although a great evil is receding from Sanctuary, a new festering curse now spreads its corruption across the land.
Yeah, the people who do,
more
you know,
dangerous,
design
more
patch notes and everything.
malignant than I could have imagined. I have found a way to stop.
Wait, is this
plague.
literally just the intro to the season?
Dark power of these monsters from their very core, and turn it to our advantage in destroying
You know what I don't need
them.
to see right now is the intro to the season we started yesterday.
But I cannot do this alone. My allies have fallen. My strength is dwindling. The malignant are relentless and without mercy. I need help.
Let her out to
I
the
need
bathroom.
you.
I don't. Yeah, I'm not even like. Get out of my face with this, honestly. I do not want to see this right now. All right.
Hello.
Answer
with
some
me.
questions.
Welcome to another Diablo IV campfire chat. My name is Adam Fletcher. I am the associate director of.
I can hear him much
Diablo.
more out of my left ear.
I'm joined here by Joe Shelley, game director of Diablo IV,
I think they're trying to fix
Mr.
it.
Joe Pipora, the associate game director for Diablo IV. We have a lot to talk about today.
Yeah, we do.
Obviously, we have this campfire chat because we do want to talk about.
I do know one thing.
The patch that
Joe
just released this past week, which is patch 110. We've
Tired of your
seen
shit.
a ton of feedback. We've heard a lot of feedback, and so we do want to go through, a lot of the points of feedback that we've been
You guys
hearing,
hear that volume
and at
issue
the same time,
having?
the patch itself. The biggest thing that to kind of like kick
that
us
me
off
making
here,
noise?
I think we want to, obviously acknowledge everyone's feedback in regards to reducing player power.
We're still live,
we
Ken.
know it is bad.
Oh, that's what it was.
No,
You messaged it to me.
is not fun, and it's something that we ourselves know that it's not the greatest play experience for players out there. We do want to explain why we ended up doing it within the actual patch, and then of course we also want to talk about like what we were trying to achieve specifically with this patch and with the changes that players ended up seeing. And then separately, we do want to also talk about how we don't plan on doing a patch like this ever again. We have most definitely heard the feedback from the players on that front, and we do want to talk a little bit about our philosophy, our own internal statements that we're setting for ourselves for future updates for the game itself. And then, of course, we do want to also talk about how we can talk better and communicate with the community better in regards to patches and updates coming to the game and what we can do to improve on that. So I know that the first thing we do want to talk about,
dropping a giant
as I said,
nerf
was,
on
talking
everybody?
about,
Like,
why we ended up doing this in this patch. And
I just feel like they could have
I do wanna throw
stepped
it over
down
to
on the
Mr.
nerfs
Joe
a lot
Piper
more
over
than
here
just
to
dropping
talk a little bit more
how
about
big
that.
they were,
Sure. So I know that we've talked on stream before about our intentions for Diablo IV being a game about choice, and part of that is ensuring that the various class options feel that they've got a place in the meta experience, and that kind of goes to some of the changes we made in 1.1. Now, Adam already called out that we've heard the feedback with regard to the patch, and we know that reducing player power is never a good experience in general.
It's not reduced, it's
And
how
I want
much
to talk through like
you reduced
sort of
it.
some of the things that brought us to where we are today in terms of decisions we were making and why. So, a few of the really big changes that were made as part of 1.1. First, really, I guess to cooldown reduction. We changed the amount of CDR that players can get as part of in the affix ranges and items that are rolling for them as they're going through the experience. CDR is one of the, if not the most powerful stat in many ways in Diablo 4. And the reason for it is obvious.
That's also
when you're
true,
able to get
Jukes.
CDR to a certain
Why
point,
do this
using
right
certain
before?
class mechanisms,
Right
you're
before.
able to get effectively like instantaneous like active skills. So like that can give you like unlimited resource, it can give you unlimited movement speed, give you unlimited damage resist, and it begins to dwarf the effectiveness of other options when you can start trying to take these things into account.
But doesn't that happen
Now,
with
we know that blasting
every
through content
Diablo?
without those things is
There's
really
always
fun.
one
So
or
it feels really,
1 to
really
4
painful to have
builds
to take
that are
those things
just a
away.
tier above everything
And
else.
we certainly don't relish the idea. That was the original thinking for these sorts of bits. One of the reasons
Bits,
why
dude, they're
we think that
canyons.
these builds are very prevalent at the moment is based upon like the nature of some of the end-game content we have in Diablo 4. In particular, thinking about
I mean, Jukes,
Nightmare
they
Dungeons
did it,
especially.
Jukes.
The reality is that Nightmare Dungeons are dramatically overtuned from where they actually need to be based upon the place they fill in the role they fill in the game itself.
Step it down.
So tier 100 Nightmare Dungeons are excruciatingly difficult for most players to, most classes to be able to actually get through. And as a result, it begins to kind of winnow the opportunities and options that players have when they begin to engage with content at that tier, such that you really do require, you need to lean on very, very specific builds, very specific setups. You know,
yeah, but if they do that, Jukes, there's not going to be anything that can push these level 100.
In an effort to actually like make it through those spaces.
You know
that was
what I mean?
never really the intent of that content.
I agree with you. I know that you're just mimicking.
Players are using Nightmare Dungeons
as
ways to kind of like level up their glyphs, ways for them to gain experience and loot as they're progressing up. It's largely like a level up system that you're progressing with once you get into world tiers 3 and 4. But they've taken on an outsized role as sort of this new end game chase opportunity for players.
That was a crazy statement by him.
And we love that we want that kind of content.
Level 100, super strong. Why did you nerf?
We have done a reasonably good job of that with Uber Lilith in the game. But we don't feel that like tier 100 Nightmare Dungeons fulfill the same role at all. Just the nature of the content type doesn't actually work well as that kind of pushing opportunity.
They just missed it. They missed so hard.
So one thing we actually plan on doing, and we'd hope to get out as part of this release, we're going to get out very, very soon, is we're making a reduction in the difficulty of some aspects of Nightmare Dungeons to kind of retune some things.
But you haven't.
The goal is to say that, you know, we think that
they haven't. They're going to.
Like
so you nerf the shit out of us after you identify the problem of these being too strong. Let's nerf them, and then we'll go ahead and nerf.
A thing to push for, but it's more reasonable. And as part of this exchange, we know that players really like kind of blasting and pushing hard for these sorts of things. They feel like big achievements. We are going to be looking at creating a new content type, a new endgame content type. It's going to be more directly meant to address those sorts of players and give people more things to chase. That's part of the commitment to the live services, to make sure that we're always adding new things like this for players to go and try to kind of chase after.
That's a good thing to say. I like that.
In fun and interesting ways. So that's
something Halo Infinite failed on. We know this.
Next, we made a number of changes to the Sorceress skill, Sorceress builds.
Yeah, you nerfed them. You buried them 6 feet under, bro.
In fact, of like really reducing their effectiveness with some of their most powerful builds at the moment.
Sorry.
And the goal at the time,
we kick ass. Sorry about
was
it.
to try to bring their builds back in line with one another so that we could start trying to bring everything up at once, as opposed to having these things as they are. And this actually leads to a really good conversation about the idea of balance in general. I said before that Diablo IV is a game that is about choice, and that remains our goal. You know, that's our guiding light. We're trying to make decisions on balance and design in general. And sometimes we don't always get it quite right. You know, and I think that we see that with some builds that are just simply not performing to the level they need to be because they just don't have the right interactions with the kind of content or skills that you actually really want to use to get through the game. You know, this is an example of like when we're thinking about our goals in terms of creating this balanced experience.
I can't echo or say this enough.
To engage with.
Step down.
No, we cannot.
Step down. If you identify it, you can't
make
just
balance decisions without kind of accounting for the way that players are going to feel about those things who are playing those classes. Like if our goal is to create
over
an
the season once a month, knock it down 10%,
without regard for how much fun
one
players
quarter
have
of what you're going to do, reassess after
that's
another quarter.
That would be like a failure on our part to not kind of think about things.
Yeah, no,
so we have plans that I know that we're.
I appreciate this man as a human, but I don't
understand that we've heard this.
Agree with what he's
we have plans in the very
saying at all.
to address these sorts of things.
Not
Another
at all.
bit that speaks to this is the change that was made for vulnerable damage. Now, I think that there are a lot of players in the community who kind of dove deep into a lot of our systems in Diablo IV and kind of see that vulnerable damage is a really outsized role that it plays in terms of a lot of build making. You know, and to the point where it feels that you'll get to certain parts of content and creatures sort of need to be vulnerable in order for you to feel that you need to that you can damage them. You know, this is something that we're very aware of. And we made a reduction as part of the 1.1 build that reduced player damage in general because most players rely on many builds, I should say, rely on vulnerable damage to deal.
So you just completely
lots of different kinds of content.
Bury vulnerable damage.
This is something we also need to talk about. Vulnerable damage is far more potent right now than we actually want it to be in general across the game. I think I've talked about this before. And we need to make a number of
guys get me
we need to kind
excited,
of bring these
dude.
things back in line.
These guys get me
But
excited.
this is a more
Not in a good
complicated
way.
conversation than simply just saying we can take a bonus damage to vulnerable creatures number and reduce it by 40% in terms of the kind of the amount of damage you can get accrue across different sources, and have that be the way that we solve this problem. Really, I think we all know that the ultimate problem with damage to vulnerable creatures, the fact is multiplicative stacking on top of the base vulnerable damage, which is already multiplicative on its own. Like this is the reason why the stat plays such an outsized role in a lot of player builds. We're going to need to move that to an additive place, but we can't do that without making a number of other adjustments to critical strike damage, to the way that overpowered damage is both calculated and dealt to creatures, and the availability of these things across various builds. There's lots of builds that rely on vulnerable, and they're balanced around the idea that the damage is also multiplicative. So a number of their balance and tuning changes will need to be made in order to be able to bring vulnerable back in line with some of the other options.
Look at the way the game was. Each class had the best build. Agreed.
This is how we're kind of thinking about these things.
I personally think that's fine. You should get a choice in picking which
character
you are. Hi, Jackson. How you doing,
boss?
boss?
More inclusive of all of these
but I think one build being meta is always going. Agreed. That's why I said that earlier.
Rather than being in this iterative place where we're making
build up the other
small
builds and make them more viable, not meta,
things along the
but
way,
viable. Yeah,
with an
maybe
end goal in mind of where we actually want to be. We want to be trying to consider what
you guys are having trouble pushing
moment, rather from
tier 100 or level 100 nightmare dungeon
to get things in a better spot.
How do these nerfs feel across the board?
That having our season
it's harder to do them now
to kind of reset our meta and change a lot of things.
How you doing, Jackson?
Has an impact on eternal players and the way that they kind
I appreciate you popping in, dude.
They're still playing in that space, and it can be disruptive for players who found a particular playstyle they're really excited about.
Nice.
So I know that Joe, you're going to talk about some of these things in a minute. So this is an awkward handoff, but I just want to make it right. It's a very awkward handoff. Okay. I'm sorry. But I want people to understand that we do.
Yeah, people are not making hardcore characters right now.
We do plan on making changes.
I think Asman also said that today. He has a nice video reacting to somebody's.
These things moving forward. And with that,
thoughts about the update.
Joe, would you like to?
Yeah, so
I think he was planning on making hardcore. Yeah, he's not going to do it. You can't. You can't.
A great,
or maybe the guy was who he was watching. Either way,
as Adam mentioned, we want to talk about. We kind of talk a little bit about how
never
we
dream
got
of a
here.
rogue or a source being a hardcore character right now.
What we're gonna do about that? I mean, I think one of the really good points you made is like, vulnerable is, for example.
Let's see if we like this guy more.
Like a must-take stat, right? And it would be better if it wasn't a must-take stat.
But more of a build option.
The game will be better when that's the case. Mm-hmm. But if along the way to getting to that, the game is less fun, then we're not fulfilling our obligation.
See, I think the guy on the our left who you see, who spoke first, I think that he's like, yeah, this is what we needed. This needed to happen for the game. I think the guy in the middle is like,
yeah,
maybe we shouldn't have been this hard.
So there are
because it's no longer fun. That's the first thing he talked about was fun, not this game.
We want the live
this.
game to always have a wide variety of viable builds to discover, to put together, to acquire the items for, and to optimize across all 5 of our classes. Second point, every season should introduce new items and powers that keep the game fresh and
that's not the issue
variety.
people are complaining about.
Moving on to the third point, the live game should also have continually evolving end game content. And that content needs to have high monster density for powerful builds to mow down, and it needs to have activities that challenge your build. And you were just talking about how
that number, that one on the bottom, should be up top.
I'll get
maybe
to the
number
fourth
2.
point in a second.
Either way,
while Nightmare Dungeons
fun number 1
are technically challenging your build.
Before you do,
they're challenging your build in some
change
ways
like you did. Is this going to make the game fun for the 100,000 people, whatever?
If
the answer is no, then maybe don't do it.
By one bit of
You're going to lose a massive chunk of people because of this. And we know how violent that is early in a game's history, if you will, life cycle.
So
losing a solid chunk of players early completely ruins the game. It might have a revitalization 2 years later, but it's never going to be what it could have been.
Fulfills that part of
doing something like this.
The mission statement to challenge your builds. if we can go back to the screen, I got kind of sidetracked, but I think it was really important. And of course, ultimately, what we're trying to do is make the game more fun for players, right? Players are at the heart of everything that we're doing. And if the game is not more fun for players, and we're not making the game, if players can't believe that as the game evolves, it will get more fun, then
Why play the
we're
game?
not accomplishing our goals either.
Why play the
right?
game?
And so the other point I want to go to here is a change that, Adam was talking about. How do we make sure
I'll get
that
to you, Rouge.
the next time we do a patch, we don't have, this doesn't happen, right?
Yep.
And so I want to talk about
If they nerf on the next patch,
we call it a key process improvement. That's like a weird
Dude.
jargon term. A change that we're making that
you'll lose half
will
the people
help
that play
us
this game right
avoid
now.
This situation. So
that are
I think
still
we have
playing.
a slide for this. When we make, and this goes again, this is
Be
right along
overpowered
what
until we
you're
have
saying
providing.
here. When we make changes to increase build diversity, our goal, going back to the mission statement, is we want to have a wide variety of viable builds, right? So when
So
we make
was
changes
their massive,
that have
like-
the ultimate aim of increasing
Their
build
massive
diversity,
nerf to vulnerable damage just
we need to
because the ice shard source or
pair
whatever
those
was
changes
super overpowered
with
because of
compelling
vulnerable damage. So
alternatives.
we're
And that
gonna
means
cut that down by
there are some builds that'll
40%,
be
and then
overpowered.
that'll make it
And
a lot more in line
we
with
can't nerf
other
those
builds. But you
those
nerfed
overpowered
everybody
builds,
doing that.
without providing compelling alternatives.
It's
for
just a
players.
wild thing.
That's right. It means
What the
that
gaming
things like
community
when we
needs is a
identify
party
that there are a
hero
few
class character
individual,
game, a game
like
where
meta
you,
builds or
with a
stats that
semi-wide
really
variety of characters
powerful
where you
within,
go
you know,
2 to 12
preseason or
people,
within
game
the
sponsored Discord for
that
finding
until we have created those
friends or
other
other friends to
options,
play with, and
we
make it
design
extremely
things
hard to
around the
beat, add a
nature
wide
of
variety
these
of
to make
content.
sure that we've lifted
Build
up
it,
other
Rouge.
options and brought everything in line. We're not going to move on those changes. There's going to be always situations where there are extraordinary outliers, that we're going to want.
We're not
going to
move on those changes.
That we need to address.
That's an important line.
But when it comes to like trying to bring things back in line with one another, we want to be able to make sure that we're doing those. When we make those decisions, we have a bevy of other options and alternatives available for players to engage with at the same time. So if players see just taking the toy
Wild.
away, that we're giving
Nikita,
them
what's going
toys,
on?
lifting up other toys, to make them more viable as part of the exchange.
You didn't
Yeah,
lift them
and that
up
those
though. Like
toys
you
are-
nerfed
are,
everybody and everything. You didn't
equally
lift
exciting.
up
Yeah.
anybody but the
So,
fucking
let's go to the
enemies.
second
Like
point
what
of
are we
this here.
talking about? Stop saying you're lifting
When
up
we
people.
make
Like
changes
every
like this, it's
class
important for us to make them
across
at
the board got
predictable times,
nerfed.
and Adam's going to talk a little
Across
bit
the
more
board.
about our communication strategy here. in a
Who
bit.
did you lift
The
up?
start of a season is an especially good time.
Wild. That guy
for
when he
meta
speaks,
changes
I
to
get
happen
pissed.
because there's a big refresh. Everyone is rolling in
Oh
characters,
man,
and
that's
there's new season
insane.
content, right? And changes like that will also
That's insane.
appear in Eternal at the same time. And the third point here, as Joe alluded to, there are certain situations. We saw a case where
Why does chat
we had
almost
a skill
like
that
only
can do
show
10
up
to the
sometimes?
37
And this little thing below me. This thing's broken.
in cases like that where the damage is
Thanks for showing up.
literally
actually.
breaking the game or crashing the servers.
There were a
we'll
couple
still
things
react
that
to those
were
situations,
over, like
but that
a
doesn't
couple
change
things that shouldn't
the
have been
first
working
point here
properly, or how
in
they
terms
were.
of allowing
And those,
those
I
to be
understand
overpowered.
those patches. Those
And I
make
think,
sense.
you know,
I get those.
One of the things that's
100%
important for
understand those. That
to
skill's not,
recognize and
not supposed to
state is
proc like that.
Ultimately,
So we're fixing it.
ARPGs,
That makes
or
sense.
some people call them hack and slash games, are about power fantasy, right? And they're about us inviting players to break the game to some extent, not to crash. There are lots of ways to interpret the word break, but and find fun toys.
This
that we've
guy's
made,
more enjoyable to talk to.
do crazy
or
things
listen
with
to.
them. And we need to make sure that we aren't
The guy
trying
on
to
the
punish
left.
players for doing that. Because ultimately that's
You can,
the play.
I could
that's
tell
the
by his
playground we
face when
built.
this started.
That's
He
we
was
built
not
the game that's
bending it.
go
Like he is
find
tired
crazy
of the
stuff.
shit and how people
We
reacted.
need
He
to make
doesn't
sure that
care.
when
He's actually
players
pissed that that's
take
how
that
they
invitation,
reacted. And all he's
that,
gonna do is be like, "This is why we
we're not
did it.
punishing.
We're not going back."
Yeah, and I know when we were talking about at least the Nightmare Dungeon stuff beforehand, and we can go into
Crazy.
it in a little
Gotta
bit more
go.
detail
Jackson,
once we
have a
get
good
to
day,
the,
dude.
to
I
the
appreciate
stuff
being
that
here.
might be coming
Happy
down the
weekend.
pipe here. The one thing I think that I wanted to
Yeah, if
really
you had-
highlight on
yeah.
is, obviously we
I don't
did
know
this
how you
patch
didn't
when
spend
we
any
made
money
these
on it,
changes,
Ghost. Shout
we
out you.
brought character power down, like player power down, essentially. That in itself was also supposed to be paired with these nightmare dungeon changes that you know.
I knew it was shady when
Joe
they
was
didn't
actually
have, they had
talking
comments
earlier.
disabled for this.
And,
Like that's,
you know, it's something that we've learned throughout this process, is, as you guys were talking about, that, you know, we have ultimate visions for something that is further down the line.
this is just like a parent
doing that all
telling you
together.
to eat dinner. Like, I don't want to eat
during
dinner. Why do I
those
have to eat
moments,
dinner?
as
And the
opposed
parent would be
to,
like, because I said
doing
so.
them over
This
over
is
time
a
and
waste of
whatnot
time
just
on a
leads
chat
to
if we're being like,
a better experience overall for players, and that's something that we most definitely will be.
This was in the
doing
patch
as
notes,
we-
the whole
we build
reasoning
out,
behind all this.
future updates and patches and so forth. Of course, a key component to this is how we communicate to players. And you
all
know,
I got
there
from this is they're not going to revert
been a
anything
lot
they
of
did.
feedback
That's
in
all I
regards
got.
to, like, hey, it would have been great if we knew some of these changes were coming down the pipe, and you know, it's a
Diablo
hefty,
Immortal
amount
version?
of
Yeah,
patch
yeah,
notes.
yeah.
We could have digested this like over a few days beforehand or a week beforehand. So one thing we do want to commit to right now is that we do plan on going forward always providing patch notes and communicating these patch notes through streams like this, through campfire chats or developer
But they
update live
gave us
streams,
patch notes. I'm confused why they keep on
beforehand,
saying
well
that. Like they
beforehand,
didn't
like,
give
it
us
was,
any
you know,
patch
at least
notes.
a
Like,
week before the actual update hits.
okay, a week before.
And
Okay,
no
so
matter
we can-
state, because I know sometimes we're still like trying to like maybe potentially squeeze in a few different things into patch notes and stuff like that.
That's
up
nice to
until, like,
hear.
the last second
We
or
should be
something,
start seeing patch
production of
notes
how we are.
early.
But I will say we do plan on sharing those no matter what to the community going forward, and from here on out through a stream or written through blog or something like that beforehand, before players can actually get into game and actually try it out on their end. So at least we can hear feedback and you guys can actually digest the information.
I do
beforehand.
like how they gave us the patch
we do
before the
actually
season, so you
have,
can kind
course,
of play
future
with it and
updates
see
here,
what has changed
that we do
before the
wanna
season
talk
starts.
about here really
But
quickly. But
with how
one
bad
thing
this
that,
patch was,
we
that just
will
gave
commit
people time to
right now
be really
is that,
pissed off for a
next
couple days.
Friday, so exactly 1 week from now, we'll be back on a live stream, because we will start with that live stream where we will be talking about our next patch that will be coming to Diablo 4. We'll talk a little bit
Okay.
about some of the details here.
We'll
but
be
go
live
into
next
more
Friday,
detail, next Friday specifically.
Okay.
But we will be back on here to kind of go through the whole entire patch notes with everyone beforehand, so everyone has a
Comments
better
will be
expectation
disabled, though.
of what
Know
they're going to be
this.
seeing in the actual update. And
better have some buffs
and they can talk
to
to us through chat,
everything a little bit, you
through
know.
social media, through Reddit, through our forums, etc. beforehand,
Like,
before the actual patch.
you can't
hits.
tell
So
me
we
what
will
you
get,
guys did fixed
times
everything.
and remind everyone, of course, throughout the week that we will have another campfire chat to talk about patch 111 since we just shipped 110.
We understand how numbers work.
But
Thank you.
we do want to talk a little bit
Appreciate you.
about patch 111 today,
All right.
just because there are some items that we are aware of.
You better
that we
blow
know,
our effing minds, dude.
Interest
Well,
to
Toxicity
players
can't lead you too
specifically,
far. You
when
don't
it
want
comes
reps
to,
and their move. and
things that
likely
they've been asking
would have
for,
Wait, what?
and at least it gives you guys a little bit of an early
Did I
preview
threaten
of
them?
some stuff that's coming down the road.
Yeah,
I
it really.
think one
Guy,
big
that's
thing
perfect.
that,
It's not a campfire
everyone
chat.
has
It's a
been
campfire
kind of
lecture.
talking about,
Thank you. Let's
as
double
of
check
late,
this.
From this current patch, is like some of the sorcerer and barbarian
Again,
items and stuff
you
like
can't
that,
have a
and,
campfire chat with
and
disabled
how we've
comments. You
obviously
can't
changed
do that.
A lot of classes down, and
Like,
there's
That just.
questions of like, hey,
It's like a dog walking in after you hear a loud noise with their tail
Yeah,
between
we're
their
taking a
legs. You know what I
long
mean?
look
Like,
at
yeah,
a
you
lot
did
of
that.
the sorceress and barbarian aspects that aren't being like utilized very well right
This
now. And
guy
trying to lift
always
a lot of those back
makes my
up.
blood boil.
There's going to be a wide range of like legendary power and unique item improvements for these two classes in particular. We're taking a look at a lot of things, but we're really honing in specifically on sorceress first. And then also getting a lot of barbarian updates in there at the same time.
Okay.
This is for 1.1.1.
Correct.
It's
So
1.1.
the
Yeah,
very
we got
next
it.
patch and cycle.
Yeah,
The one
and
coming
we,
up.
we expect that patch. Obviously, if we're having a live stream now, next Friday, we expect that patch here in the next couple weeks or so. So at least you guys can get an early preview on it.
Yeah, and on that Friday, we'll be talking a lot about the specifics of all of those changes and kind of hearing what the community says.
Yep.
It feels like that.
So that patch should- what do you-
in fact,
he said a couple few
the
weeks
Nightmare
out?
Dungeon items that we were just talking about.
said 2 weeks
just
tops, right?
now, that's actually we're planning
2.5
on
weeks
actually
tops?
rolling that out in a hotfix specifically.
Okay.
And that is something that we actually plan on rolling out later today. So we'll have more information on the Nightmare Dungeon changes that will be that we talked about earlier that will be coming out.
Okay. Hey, we're going to get you all
Another
the
big
patch
thing
notes from
that,
here on
you know,
forward.
we've talked
Also,
about
there's a
in
hot
patch
fix
notes
coming out
we've
today. We don't have any notes or any
toned
info
it
for you,
down,
but it's coming out
and
later
now
today.
We're kind of, and we had mentioned that
All in a
to
like a 3,
players
4
that
minute,
we
5
did
minute
plan on bringing
sequence.
it back up
You can't
is,
contradict yourself
monster
that fast, dude. You gotta have what would be really good.
Nightmare
Hey,
Dungeons
and this is a show of,
So,
you know,
I know that you guys
showing
had some
that
plans and
this
so
hot fix
forth
coming out
related
today.
to that.
Boom,
Yeah,
patch notes
so,
on screen.
I mean, going back to the mission statement I mentioned earlier, a key part of the live game is having high density areas for players to mow down, right?
Key part of ARPGs, right?
Key part, of which
I do
Diablo
like
4 is
mowing
one.
down
That's true.
Pardon my grammar.
a large group of enemies. I'll give him
And
that.
so,
I like Joe Shelley.
We're going to be increasing the density
Shelley?
in Nightmare Dungeons substantially.
Like density a lot.
And
Like that.
we're
More
going to
things
be
go
increasing
boom.
the density in Helltide as
And
well.
on top of that,
Now,
density means like
with
those
the Nightmare Dungeon
those
changes
procs for
across
like
the
gaining
board for
10%
Nightmare
mana when you kill an
all
enemy.
Nightmare
Those
Dungeons
proc a
will get
lot more.
dense.
Which you need those for sustainability.
The Helltide change,
health
there are
and
certain
mana
areas
resource
of
or whatever.
Helltide that are extremely dense, right?
Yep.
Like the tar pits,
Tar
for
pits.
example, is very dense. Areas like that probably won't get more dense. And part of what we've been doing here at the same time in terms of these density changes is making sure that we're making performance improvements.
Oh, I agree
like
with you. I can't
looking
pass
at,
judgment yet. Yeah.
Player skills that are
But I will react.
that are taking a lot of time on the servers, getting those into a better performance so players have better frame rates and stuff, and fewer stalls and all these kinds of things that make the game more fun to play. And this also helps us increase
I
the
like
number
what you're
of,
doing
like,
with the scroll of
more
water a lot,
monsters,
Rouge.
more players, more stuff going on.
Okay.
And we know that the density.
That's
in Nightmare
today, right?
Dungeons
That's that help,
particularly needs to
that
go up.
hot fix
And,
for
so we've
today,
been
yeah?
working on that to make sure that
Yeah.
that we can accomplish that. So density in Helltide will go up, not uniformly. Density in
I also
Nightmare
heard
Dungeons
there's
will go up, uniformly. And
there's
this will
a
be
bug with the
substantial.
crystals right now. Like there's not as many crystals
Which
dropping
I
as there
know
should be.
players have been talking about constantly
For those in the Helltide.
wanting additional density on this.
Right,
specific.
rightly so.
You know, a big topic right now is inventory concerns. We've heard from players. I know we've talked about gems and so forth actually becoming materials in Season 2, which to help out with some inventory concerns specifically.
That's
I know you
good.
guys have
That's
information,
nice.
at least in regards to stash.
That's
and what might be
really
coming in
an
rolling.
incredible
Yes.
change.
So
That is
certainly.
You gotta give credit where credit is due. 4 months, we no longer have to worry about gym management anymore. Oh my goodness! Shout out, dude.
We need more stash help now, right? And so in 1.1.1, we're going to be adding an additional stash tab for players.
There you go,
so
guy.
they can store more aspects.
There you go.
More malignant
The
hearts.
additional stash tab.
Yeah,
Beggars can't be
this has been,
choosers.
like,
You
an
got one.
ongoing
All right.
conversation
All right.
every week inside the dev team of like, do we feel that we're ready to do this yet? Do we feel that we're ready
Whoa,
to do this
pause.
yet?
You can-
the
you just
density
pause
conversation,
yourself,
the stash
Rouge?
tab conversation, like the engineering team's been working really, really hard to be able to like make these adjustments possible for us. Like there's more that we're doing. You know, this is now a never-ending conversation of like what else can we do and what else can we be doing to try to improve the experience. But like we've definitely heard these two concerns and we're just really happy to be able to bring them in as early as 1.1.1.
Yeah. Oh, and I should mention that along with the stash tab, we're making a small change to Elixir stack size. We're going to bring that up to 99. So that'll help a little bit.
That's also very good.
Obviously, like,
Also
with new
very awesome.
starts to seasons, and if we do have these types of
That's two really awesome
that occur
changes.
within
So
the
we
patch
like
that
those
may
two
change,
things. The
whether it's
1.1.1
the meta or the balance
that
of-
Elixir will
of
be here
specific things.
in a
There's
couple
been
weeks.
questions related
So that's
to,
good. Season 4 will get. I mean, the gym thing, that's huge. The
and
gym thing is huge.
how
They've never
that
done that in
has
any other
been
Diablo.
pretty-
We've always
pretty
had an issue
expensive
with
on
storing
people's, like,
gems.
their own personal economies with gold and so forth. I know we have respec changes that are also coming with the game itself. You guys probably know
Yeah.
more specifics on the numbers.
Yeah, I mean, this really goes back. Joe was talking about our commitment to choice earlier, and it also, but I think it also goes back to
I want
when
an
we say in the
ability
mission
to
statement, we
save
wanna have
builds.
a
Like
wide
it's-
variety of
you know,
viable
have a
builds.
world boss
Great,
build and
but
have
if you can't
a
switch
speed
between
build
those
and
builds,
have. Here we go.
then
Say it.
it still feels punishing.
Say it.
So we're going to bring respec costs down
I don't care about that.
Quite by about 40%, quite a bit.
Okay, I like that.
Yeah, so it should help.
Nope,
out
see,
with
I
people
need a
that,
tab to save
wanna
it,
switch
just
over
like
to
we
a
can
different
with our
build
clothes and
so
everything. Like,
forth,
oh, I like this
or,
look.
they
I
do
like
have to
this build.
adjust over to another
Right?
build,
They don't have that, right? I'm 90%
to do so, or have an easier option
sure,
of being able
but
to
I haven't
do
seen
so.
that.
So
And that'll be in 1.1.1.
and that'll be in 1.1.1 as well. So, and then I know, lastly, like one big thing is, you know, as players kind of progress through the game and the leveling curve kind
And
of,
this good, Adam.
goes through, especially like post like 70 or so. We've been looking at you know, the player journey and how they've been getting up to 100. I know there's some changes that you guys are looking at in terms
just
of,
walked
like,
in?
experience and so
Distracted
forth.
everybody.
Yeah, I
Except
mean, the short version is we want to
Hyper over
make
there.
leveling from 50 to 100 faster by adjusting XP. I don't know if you have.
Yeah,
more
I realized
verbose
when
thoughts on that.
I was talking earlier.
You realized
about
after you put the
changes we
patch
made.
out and
Obviously,
played the
we
game
also
and realized it
made
was
changes to
trash.
XP game when fighting creatures above your level, and I failed to mention
Sorry.
discussing it.
Yeah.
I get
So
one.
the
I get one
original intent
outburst.
for that was we
Sorry.
found players basically sitting at like fighting creatures like 3 levels above them and never felt like they were really challenging themselves beyond that. We wanted to stretch that out a bit further, but that went from, you know, a 25% bonus to a 15% bonus. And we knew that density changes were coming online, so we thought about this a little bit. But you know, I read a lot of feedback, like afterwards in particular, that just made it sound like people thought that we were just trying to make the game take longer, which wasn't actually the goal, but realized that the
That's
25%
exactly
to
what you did.
15% change did constitute a nerf result. That is the thing that we're thinking
Yeah.
about as well.
We are not trying to slow down the game.
No, and to that point, like we
reduce
had
the
a vision
percentage,
for how, we
and
had
then
a vision
it-
for how long we want the game
that
to
caused
take
things
for players
to take longer.
We realize that it's taking a little bit
That's
longer than that than what our vision
how
was originally
percentages work.
for a lot of folks that are leveling up, particularly when they get to certain parts of the game, like you know when they're World Series 3 and 4.
Yeah.
So we are looking to like really to readjust the XP rates for those areas, because we aren't looking to like have you hit this absolute brick wall when you hit like level 70 or something, right? Like there's not like these moments where you're going to feel like you just can't, or 75. Like, you know, we don't want you to have this feeling that you just can't make meaningful progress, that we're just artificially holding you back. That's never been the vision or the goal, right? It ended up working out that just it wasn't the players weren't earning XP at the rate that we had
What's he
originally
looking
expected.
at?
It really came down to.
Who's he looking at?
These are like we are making changes.
It's like
in
he's
this regard,
ignoring.
kind of
Like
down.
that's like me.
Oh,
Like,
kid. Yeah.
yeah,
And
guys, I
mean, you've
really
seen-
appreciate you guys
certainly,
being here. Thank
we
you for
did things like increase
choosing my
XP
channel
bonus for
to
Nightmare
waste some
Dungeons,
time on while
a
we
while
listen
back
to this
quite
lecture.
substantially.
Yeah. And
Please
with
subscribe
Helltide
for
Cash.
more.
Yeah.
Now, notwithstanding that, there are changes to XP related to addressing, you know, the power leveling case, because we don't have like group up, have fun with your friends, like power leveling each other.
My friends don't want to play
the only
this anymore.
Case that we think is not very fun is the case where one person is standing at the entrance to the dungeon and the other person is having all the fun killing monsters.
Yeah.
And so, you know, when we look at the balance of the XP changes in 1.1.0, we think that additional changes need to be made to make the game faster, especially between 50 and 100.
Yeah, we want
Exactly
level
what you
1 to 100 to feel like an achievement, but not like a job.
Yeah.
Right. So like we want to make some adjustments, make sure.
So
that it feels
what's coming
fun.
in 1.1.2 then?
Very achievable, obviously within the season timeline. But yeah, so we are going to make some adjustments. Be talking about more probably next week in
Yeah.
terms of with more specificity.
said. Yeah, soon,
Yeah.
very soon.
Yep. So again, we'll be back on stream next Friday to talk about all the details of the changes, including the barb and like sorcerer changes that Joe had mentioned, along with other changes.
Power
that
leveling
we
nerfs super hard.
We are preparing right now for the patch itself. That patch itself is supposed to be hitting in the next couple weeks. Obviously, if we're doing the stream on Friday, it means it's coming pretty darn soon for after that stream. So,
what you said earlier
but we
was a
did
week
wanna
prior.
Make sure that we got in front of players to actually talk.
Are we
to them
contradicting
about
ourselves
everything,
again?
And we plan on doing that going forward if we ever have one of these
We're just-
larger patches that actually makes
Good job,
changes to the
Nikita.
game. We'll either get in front of you guys via stream, or we'll end up posting.
You can't
about
fuck
them
up after you're
earlier
making
so that you guys get a
fun
better
of somebody,
idea
dude.
Of what's to come for those. I know that we do want to take some questions, a bunch of questions actually from chat and so forth. I know one big question that has always kind of come up has been about leaderboards and so forth within, and the expectation of when those might be coming in. I know that ideally we're aiming for season 3 for the leaderboards in itself. I don't know if you guys have any like additional information or like additional insight onto those from your end.
Yeah, so one thing that's really important to us for leaderboards in Diablo 4 is that we don't think that like tying this directly to Nightmare Dungeons or content type exactly like that is going to make a lot of sense because the variety of the nature of the system. So we want to make
chat on
we
Twitch,
want to make a content type that kind of partners directly with leaderboards, so that you can be judged in kind of like this. Kind
These
of
are made up questions
when you're going through that experience. But that is content that we are.
Chat is just questions they've seen around the internet. This is bullshit.
Get ready for season 3.
Bullshit.
So we're going to be making.
Refresh real quick.
I'm sorry. The short answer.
Bullshit.
I'm sorry. The short answer to this is
You can't tell me you're taking chat questions from. Go look at their chat on Twitch. Actually, don't go because then you're leaving, and I only have 7 viewers. So don't go, but like think about it.
Walrus is.
I think these are like maybe from Twitter or something.
They mathematically.
But you're telling me he's
don't
taking.
exist, so I don't think it's a good waste of resources.
Does he have a tablet in his hand? Is he just stopping on questions?
I was really distracted by the walrus.
Okay.
Can you read the question again?
Uber uniques.
Oh, right.
What's the future? They mathematically don't
exist. Yeah, they really don't.
So I don't think it's good to waste resources on them in the future.
Yeah, that's a good question. So, Uber uniques are designed such a way that they are a huge spike of power. And
teleports
we're
you.
Receiving feedback.
Isn't it the one that teleports you anywhere?
But
this
it represents
season?
a huge spike of power, and as
Huge
such,
spike
are
of
not
power.
expected to be part
You don't
of
know where
builds
you're going.
necessarily. One of our goals underlying is we don't want players to feel that one of these are mandatory that you must find in an effort to bring your build online. From the ground up, we kind of made the decision to say it is okay if we want players to find these. But we don't want them to expect to.
You want like 3 players to find them.
It's a difficult place to balance in terms of drop rates and thinking about these. Now,
Wait, no, they can only be picked up once,
they are
right?
exceedingly rare, and we do want them to feel very, very rare. But I suspect that as we start moving into,
didn't they have that in the preseason, like 1-of-1 items?
We want to find more ways for more opportunities for players to get chances at these. And I imagine we'll be able to talk about that.
Did you do a random Taco Bell and you have to walk home?
The current drop rates are probably not going to be the drop rates forever. We'll probably make those a little bit more common, a little more likely to be found as time goes on.
A big topic that I'm seeing just pop up in chat and so forth. A lot of comments about crowd control.
Maybe he is watching Twitch chat. He could be watching Twitch chat.
Or ways of that.
With him having a tablet in his hand, there's a chance he's watching Twitch chat.
As I mentioned earlier in the
10th
stream,
Diablo stream.
I think we both talked about it.
I had fun with the thumbnail. What did you guys think?
When you
that
have,
picture of me going.
High density of monsters.
When I saw that this morning, I cried.
I cried. The crowd control, the tools that you have for crowd control are not, need to be better.
Why am I still wearing this ring? I appreciate you guys chatting so much. That's pushing our stream a lot. Shout out you guys. Thank you.
And some of that is going to be tool adjustments in terms of your tools. I think that we'll be able to, this is something that we'll be able to speak more to in terms of specifics and how we're going to address that, but we agree it's a problem in the future. Yeah.
It's a problem.
Question from I'm so bad. IK Rekote. I tried. I'm so bad.
Embarrassing.
With names.
Wow. Quit your job,
when will loadouts be added?
Yeah, it's a feature that the UI team is very excited about, and something we've talked about a bit internally. We don't have a timeline for the idea of loadouts just yet, but it is something that we're continuing to actively talk about. When we have more information to share,
loadout
in terms of
weapon-wise, or is that
be added Diablo 4? I'm sure that we'll talk about it.
Also, skill. Why? You know what I mean? Like skill tree wise.
Zero says, "What is the time frame on 111?" It doesn't seem very
2 to 3
clear.
weeks.
Is it before the middle of the season? How long do I need to wait for?
Okay, this is Twitch chat. I'll give him that. Don't disable my comments though, or on YouTube.
It is much sooner than mid-season. As I said, it's only like a couple weeks away, and by a couple weeks,
Who's
I mean
been here?
Like very, very soon. Like if we're doing the stream on Friday, I would expect it within a couple days after the stream.
We have to provide some. If we say anything too specific today, production will choke us out. So we have to be very careful about the language we use. But yes, very soon.
Only because with patches themselves, of course, there are we're on a lot of different platforms and everything, and of course those go through certification. If a certification gets pushed back or whatnot, then we obviously need to readjust schedules, so it's hard for us to actually put a specific time on to, until that actually occurs.
Oh, Danny?
But very, very
I
soon.
miss Danny, dude. Good people.
BaldB79, are there any plans for some changes for experience between, say, level 75 to 100? This is actually something that we just commented on, but the journey feels a bit dull. There are several events, but only nightmare dungeons to provide challenge. World bosses, Helltides, and Whispers are a good idea, but just too easy.
Yeah, there's so we talked about, so I guess there's two real
No, the world
parts
boss
like,
I fought
so,
the other day was super easy.
Are we making changes to the XP progression for players while they're moving through, like World Tier 4 in this case? And the answer is yes. We are going to be looking at making changes to that.
That's
we'll
a good
talk about more
change.
about
We
that
like
soon.
this.
And then secondly, do we feel that there are the right number of like milestones for players to engage with? Enough enough goals to kind of like consume while you're also just
Say
leveling
no.
up, and enough content to kind of do as you're leveling up in these world tiers. And I think that the answer is no.
Thank you.
We know
Thank
that
you.
there's more things that we need to add to the game, particularly for World Tier 4. But really, just once you get into World Tier 3 and 4, just want to find more opportunities and more content and new things for players to do as they're leveling up through those spaces. And we do have plans for those things, and we do have thoughts on stuff we want to add in.
We should just save all the side quests for World Tier 4, and then that's when we do side quests,
But yeah, we recognize that there's more. We would like to add to that journey to kind of create more variety. And
Most people
more
are running
moments of
Nightmare
challenge
Dungeons.
as well,
We're just doing
while you're
side quests,
progressing.
hanging
Not
out.
just at 100, but all along the way.
Easy
Podok24
experience.
says, what are your plans to adjust loot drops? This, I'm going to add on to his question after I read it. It feels very frustrating to grind for
Did you
days
add
without
tree?
ever seeing anything
Just
close
so you
to
could
an
do the
upgrade, or
emote?
finding the right aspect. Even worse, when you finally do it and it's a terrible roll. Slightly, I'm also going to modify that and,
Well, since a
mention
table is made out of a
target
tree, I got the
which
tree.
has also been a topic within the community. I'm not sure if you guys want to have any plans and so forth for that.
So I think there's a couple parts of this as well, right? There's the idea of I grind for a long time to get an item, and the item is not an upgrade. And particularly, when you're in World Tiers 3 and 4, where you start dealing with sacred items and ancestral items, where you're kind of dealing with this larger bucket of eye power range. This can
Ancestral
certainly be
items,
true,
those things are...
unless you're looking for specific kinds of affixes, you're looking for particular kinds of roles, right? So there's a couple things.
But you
One, we
can't
know we
change
want to try
anything on
to
it.
reduce the
That's the shitty part of
the
them.
difficulty of like kind of comparing and looking at a number of different items all at once and trying to get a better sense of that. These are things the UI team is very passionate about, and conversations are ongoing in terms of how we want to achieve that. Like things like loot filters, things like that. There's the idea of like how does the progression of itemization feel, particularly in World Tier 4, while you're leveling up there. And the
He
systems
takes
team
so
has
long
ideas
to
and things
answer
that
a
would like
question.
to-
He's said
it's
nothing so far.
early for us to say exactly to like really like lay them all out just
That
now.
should be a politician.
But there are ideas and things we want to do to kind of improve the feeling of progression through the ancestral tier, so that you feel like there's more thresholds and there's more opportunities to kind of get upgrades as you go. And then lastly, there's this idea of target farming. So legendary aspects are a place I think that we can afford to do more. We know that players are
As much
looking
as
for
I-
certain aspects. They're
I
trying
want
to find
but I
certain things.
I should
They're trying
probably go
find
back to work.
particularly unique items.
I would
think
love
is
to,
often the case.
but
right, they want their temperature.
this isn't my job yet, unfortunately.
That thing.
I wish
We
it was. I
do
wish we
have
could just
plans
stream all
in
day,
season 2
earn
right
tips,
now to have more
and hang out. But
more
unfortunately
content.
not
you
yet,
can
Jukes.
try to target farm in order to find certain unique items. And I think there's a natural extension of that to figure out like what's the right way for players to be able to find an easier method of getting into
Okay,
aspects
no problem,
that they're
Nikita.
looking for as they're progressing through. So that is something that the rewards and systems teams will be thinking about and we'll be able to talk about soon on stream.
No
And
MC.
I
We'll do
do wanna note,
we'll
like,
do
I know we have an update
the
here
dragon
coming for
tomorrow,
111 with
mid-afternoon
Buzz in the
Pacific
next couple
time.
weeks. There are going to be other
to knock
patches
that out for the MC
before,
because I know you guys want to do that, so we'll do
season
that
2 and
tomorrow.
so
But
forth,
Yes.
with additional
Yes.
changes and
No,
items
no.
that we're
I'm
we
being
just
honest with
haven't
you. All I
noted.
want to
just
do
wanna
is play this
clarify
game,
specifically
even though
now.
it's
we do have
in a
more
really
patches
bad state.
beyond
I still love
111, before season 2 to address a lot of feedback that we're receiving from players and a lot of opportunities for us to actually do so. Can we get some sort of matchmaking system to help with partying up with random people or group finders?
That's a
I
big
know
deal.
we had talked about group finders before. I know this is something that the team has obviously received feedback about, like helping out with like the social systems and so forth within the game. It is being evaluated, I know.
I saw that,
and
Nikita. I
teams are
didn't
looking
want
at
to
it. We
butcher
just
you,
don't have
dude. I
a
just left it alone.
I know when those are actually coming in specifically from that end. Are there going to be changes with arm? Oh, sorry, I forgot that. Was, Andy for Man was the last question. BeanPot10 says, are there going to be changes with armor regarding survivability? Hardcore is almost unplayable on Sorcerer with one shots from corpse bows and low innate due to low innate armor.
Yeah, I think survivability, especially on Sorcerer, is something that
huge problem.
The changes that Joe was talking about for
1.1.1
about in more detail next week. Is one of the things we want to include in that.
I like how they're focusing on Source 1, Barb 2 for this next patch. I don't know how bad Barb got hit. Obviously, Source meant a little bit more to me,
and abilities you're doing that are killing players a little more frequently than we expect. And like we're looking at like
those corpse archers
that explode when they die, for example, claim an awful lot of lives, right?
Those guys that just run up,
claim an awful lot of lives, right?
Or charging creatures. We've also learned
and charging creatures. Yeah,
I've seen a lot of reports about that.
Asman said something about that.
Which I think has been nerfed like twice now.
Well, there's a bug fix on the Beast Charge in particular, where Beast Charge could deal damage.
This is big.
Even if you interrupted the charge or the beast died.
Oh, I see.
See what
that's
Asman said.
So I mean,
we're
identifying some of these like really,
essentially
really
it's getting full power, full damage, even if it charges
ones that claim lots,
towards
a
you.
disproportionate amount of player lives.
He thinks it should be obviously. I agree, but
it's not.
If he charges 10 feet at you, it's going to do max damage. But if he does 5 feet, do half damage.
Next week.
1 foot, do 1/10 damage.
There's a lot of things out there.
Makes sense. They never change that though.
Like what feels to the player in the moment pretty cheap, like unfair, like I sort of just died, don't really see what happened. So we're looking at more of these situations and trying to figure out the right places to make adjustments.
Yeah, it sounds like they're buffing.
We don't want the game to be easy. We don't want want you to walk through every encounter. And
you wouldn't need to come out with a patch.
We want you to feel like you have an opportunity
immediately. If you just step down, if you recognize problems, even half of what you did, and then wait a couple weeks, see how it plays. It's still the beginning of the game, dude.
Started and it's not starting.
No reason to just chew everybody away like that.
Players can see it, and we'll be mentioning it so that players can actually read through them and so forth.
Right.
This is a pretty large hotfix in terms of like items that we're actually fixing and the Nightmare Dungeon stuff that we had just talked about. Templar Knights asks, question, can we change the codex in such a way that we can upgrade the values with founded legendary items? This could reduce the demand to stash, avoid aspects laying around.
I actually agree with this 100%. Because the ones in the codex are the lowest end of those rolls.
Yeah, so we know that one of the key things that players are carrying in their stash right now are lots and lots of aspects.
Yeah.
And we're talking about ways to address that. That's an interesting suggestion. That I think it's sort of going toward the same direction here, which is like, how can we address the
he just doesn't want to go out and be like, yeah, that's actually a perfect idea. We will be implementing that. Thank you.
Certainly having extra
AshCap 75 or whoever it was
will not hurt that problem. But
like that's a perfect thing. Hey, this is the minimum. You completed the dungeon. This is the minimum roll. If you find one better,
we've been discussing.
You can choose to destroy it and upgrade.
This is just
forever.
Now, how much fun is it to be able to extract an aspect from an item and be able to maintain that roll? And then how much is that fun? So fun that it's worth like some of the inventory pressure that comes about as a result of that. And that's a conversation we've had within the dev team.
I'll be sticking to Skyrim. I don't blame you too much right now, Nikita. We'll talk in a couple
There's definitely a lot of improvements we can make to the Codex of Power, for example, to kind of like be embracing some of these other like affix extraction systems.
Question from DRJ16. Has the team considered how certain nerfs like weapon cooldown reduction are so much more impactful for certain classes than others?
Yes, the team is definitely aware that some of these changes disproportionately affect, like the vulnerable damage change disproportionately affecting like Cold Sorks. There is we're definitely aware that some of these changes disproportionately affect some classes.
The problem is a lot of the changes multiply.
And this goes back to my earlier
nerfs
point
on the
about
source.
When we're going to be making changes like this moving forward, that we know we're going to have an overall effect of reducing certain effects down, or rather reducing certain like powers or affixes or whatever it is down to a place where we want people to use the baseline to kind of build from for other parts of the game. that when we do those things, it's going to affect these different players in different ways, and they're not going to enjoy
He's
that.
got to be reading from teleprompter.
Not accidentally. If we've ruined their build in order to try to weed the garden and get things into a better place, like ultimately, we're going to be trying to do a lot more situations where if we're going to take a thing away, if we're going to update something where it's no longer going to be as valuable as part of your build, we want to provide a lot of other options as part of that. Yeah. Make sure we don't leave the build with a gaping giant hole in it as a result of the change that we made. So this is going to, again, it's going to mean that moving forward when we're making larger scale balance and tuning adjustments.
It seems like their whole apology is saying, hey, we'll get patch notes to you sooner, and we understand that this was a really big hit to everybody, so next time
when we make a change,
we'll be
it goes
better.
back to the
but we're not changing a single effing thing.
We're going to provide compelling alternatives when we make those kinds of changes.
That's a punchy way to say it.
Punchy way. Kennywa says, question, why did you guys increase the cast time on stuff like leaving dungeons?
Yeah, no shit.
Feels like you're trying to slow down the game
for
by
no
making
reason.
It waste time for something that might feel useless.
We can look at that. We'll continue to evaluate that change. It's a fairly small difference. I know that in a
it went from 3 to 5.
Small amounts of time can be meaningful.
That's
we did,
huge increase, dude. Small difference would have been a half a second.
Outside the dungeon,
and nobody would have bitched.
Kind of a loop there.
Maybe would have been like, why?
But Loki 512
from 3 to 5 is not a small change.
More than 6 or 7 items.
Might be a small amount of time, but not a small change.
Are there plans to add more? The feeling is they feel like they would want more items per season that are actually added in.
We've always said that we wanted to take in the feedback from the players as we kind of got these seasons out the door.
23 pages of negative reviews and Metacritic to look at,
which I think have been pretty cool. We're going to be looking at the balance, some of them to kind of lift them up, make them a little more exciting in some places. But broadly, we're pretty happy. They generally are. And then we have our uniques and our legendary items that we added with the season as well. I think if we see that there's a lot of interest in trying to get more of these, we can start trying to think about
so long to
how
answer.
we inject a few more legendaries into the game with each season, or a couple more uniques potentially into the game with each season. But we want to continue to see what the feedback
the living embodiment of the 2-second addition to Living Dungeon.
People asking for more, so yeah, good to know.
You can just go to the last 5 to 10 seconds every time he speaks, and he answers the question. But the first 1 minute is complete bullshit.
Patch 1.1.1 is kind of in that vein of trying to get these things in a slightly better place. And we do want to go back over our existing legendary power library and identify the ones where they can afford to be lifted up with redesigns and changes the way some parts of them work. So they've
exactly. That's what I said
in terms of where they're supposed to sit and build.
10 minutes ago, Ghost.
So
I agree.
There's going to be a lot of opportunities for that along the way as well. It's not going to be the only way we inject new fun in the game isn't going to just be through the season mechanic, isn't just going to be through the addition of brand new legendaries.
Ahead of their time, Red Dead Redemption was
going back over the existing
still
legendary powers after we see players use them a little bit more, making adjustments accordingly.
Question from Panda Mousy and Mormra. Same question actually. What's your plan for resistances?
They trash.
Right now they feel like a wasted stat. Do we have any changes to resistances that might be changing maybe sooner or later, or how's that going to work?
Resistances fall in one of those categories where if we need to make a change to the way that resistance damage is, or rather, the way that players use resistance to mitigate damage from certain sources. And it's going to be a far-reaching change when we actually go through and make this, which means that we want to be able to take the time with it and do it properly. It's going to be, right now we plan to put that into Season 2 as part of a larger rework. So you can look forward to more information as we get a little bit closer to Season 2.
Shadow
last 10 seconds of that. We're looking into that probably closer to Season 2.
Can campaign bosses be added to the pool of dungeon bosses that we encounter? I feel like campaign bosses are underutilized.
I think there could be more opportunities to fight some of those campaign bosses in the future.
Campaign bosses used to, back in Diablo 2, I used to
can't comment further on exactly
do bail runs with the homies. That's how you geared up, was doing bail runs.
Sounds good. Okay.
Joe has often said this, so we definitely want to make sure we find the right ways to bring act bosses in. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't think he's ever said that before.
A question, Party Cannon 30. Hi there, guys. Can you, thanks for the information. My question is about crashes on PlayStation 5. Is that a known issue? We are aware of some
memory
issues
leak
on consoles, specifically Xbox, PlayStation, that maybe
specifically those two. Yeah, the two people use.
I do want to note, I know with 1.10, there was
Almost all of
a bug fix towards a specific memory leak that the team was trying to identify and find, and they actually did find it, and it was addressed there. There was actually an additional fix in 1.1.1 because I've seen a lot of questions, whether on Reddit and so forth, about PC performance and so forth, and even on like just performance in general, that will be addressed there. And I know that the team, the engineers,
because I was gonna say I didn't see any difference. We're still crashing and shit like that.
And figuring out.
And so they're like, oh yeah, we came out with the patch, but we're coming out with another one. Fixing the same issue, so you didn't fix it.
Bugs on our forums and give as much information as possible.
Came out with a patch that we thought would fix it. We've identified some more issues that will be resolved in 1.1.1.
To be able to see if they can actually repro the same type of issues.
That's how you answer that without sounding like an asshole.
Do you guys plan on introducing more ways? Oh, sorry, this is Mr.
Beast?
I don't want to butcher that.
Lilith
Do you guys
D's.
plan on introducing more craft / modify gear? Currently, only gold has value, and only one stack can be rolled.
More ways to craft and modify gear.
Yeah.
Yes, yes, we do want to add more options for players to kind of modify the items they're getting. What we have really in the preseason and now in the season 1 state is still very like a baseline experience in terms of item modification. We are looking at more.
So now he's kind of looking at the camera.
To allow players to do more with their items.
Or trying to,
yeah,
I think.
That is a plan for the future.
That guy's got
the Almighty
teleprompter.
Striker says, why does the Necrominions take? Why do they take ability slots?
Down there.
It could be easily a different button. How many of Necrominion builds have beat Uber Lilith? Lots of questions.
1.1.1 patch is going to address some things that were nerfed to hopefully fix it.
The drop
apart from that,
so forth. That was the second part of the question.
A whole lot of.
I guess the question mostly is about
we see
minions and ability slots.
Also,
I saw
later.
other questions related to companions, whether they're druid companions with wolves or necromancer minions. If there's any changes or plans for those to actually potentially get
nothing will be reverted though. Know this.
Yeah, this is something we do care about. One of the things that that sounded dismissive.
Yeah, we care about a lot of things, but go on.
What I was just trying to get to another point, which is there's some really cool stuff in some of the Malignant Hearts that affects this, in terms of like kind of getting credit for additional abilities.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's not for
we
Eternal
do care
Realm.
a lot about the number of the sort of like ratio of ability to number of slots that it takes up and making that as optimal as possible.
Yeah, that's right. We want to make sure that if you're going to play a Necromancer and you're going to summon skeletons, that you are going to be. I mean, that takes up that's the weight of an ability. You know, like it's the same as having an active. You know, you need to like playing with it. It's going to take a little bit of space in your bar. You don't get that in addition to a bunch of other things. If you don't want to have skeletons on your bar right now, the idea that you'd be sacrifice a lot of those skills in order to give you that extra space. And in terms of the viability of like minion builds at various parts of the game, there are some builds that are able to like get pretty deep into content, obviously, but I think there's still room for improvement in terms of like minion survivability and other conversations along those lines.
Yeah, when you nerf.
That is something still happening. And then there was the other conversation, the question about druid companions, right?
Yeah, kind of similar to necromancer minions and
because these problems were here during the preseason.
Yeah, I
then
think
they
possibly
just
we see players
nerfed everybody
actually,
across
there are a
the
few
board and
players
made
that run,
it even
literally all
worse.
3 companion skills and use that as part of the build that they'll go after for their druid. And I think that there's likely room here to do more with
poison and
companion
shadow
skills.
damage.
Whether
That's
it
about
rises
it.
to the full level of like a complete like spec, I think is going to be interesting. But I know that there's people on the team that are very excited about trying to explore more of this side of the druid over time. But we don't have as many. There aren't as many interconnecting points for the way that you interact with your companions right now, and the way that like the skeleton army does for the necromancer, in terms of ways that you modify them and do more with them. So I think there's some groundwork we need to do to like provide a lot more options there, but something the team's interested in. Yeah.
I'm going to do one last question here, which is, will there be better loot tables for like treasure goblins, any alternate goblin types?
Cannot believe that.
Yeah, I think we loved how many, D3 has like all kinds of
Oh my God, that was
there's
good.
like 10 different kinds of
I wish
goblins.
the Necro could
or,
stack equipment to
14
spawn more
maybe.
minions
It's been
because
a
you
little
can
while
only
since
use
I looked at that.
one summon 2
that,
extra selection. Yeah, I
data.
haven't played too much Necro yet, so I can't
that in the editor.
I can't comment
But
too much on the gripes. I don't. I
we
out of
think
lack
that
of
there's
knowledge.
lots of room for there to be more fun goblin types in the future.
And in terms of the
need to roll one so we
the
can-
treasure goblins have a tendency to provide, we actually I had a conversation with
This is big.
the lead system designer last week, talking about this. We are making we are buffing like legendary drop chance, for example, from items that will appear from treasure
I've
goblins.
killed like
we do want them to
6 straight goblins,
to
7
feel a
straight
little
goblins
bit
haven't got a
more
legendary
excited in the
drop.
moment they drop.
Like honestly, they're trash.
Cool.
Diablo
Well,
3,
I know,
they could
we talked
drop
about
a
last
portal
day.
that led to a
I
goblin
just wanna
realm.
recap some stuff that
What?
we had mentioned today.
Now I'm just
Obviously,
getting gold items in a gym. Go fuck yourself.
We've been hearing a lot of feedback regarding the patch, and you know we're telling you guys now that we completely hear you loud and clear. We don't plan on doing patches like this ever again.
Yeah,
Or
but we're not
gonna
gonna change
be
a single thing.
Essentially, removing the fun in the
3
player
pieces of
power
gear with
from
the
players
aspect of summon, 2 extra
drastically
minions,
like
but
this.
isn't
And if
exactly-
we ever do that,
Yeah, see, that's-
for any type of class like a builder.
I wonder if they're trying to
we'll
make sure you don't
that there's
break
always
it.
some really good alternatives for players to actually
But
be able
also,
to try out
like,
a different build.
if that's just
that
a
will also
piece
be
of the
boosted
gear, it's
way
not like you're
back
trying to
up,
stack a legendary
to
ability,
kind of,
you know?
help out
I
and
agree
give other
100%.
options for players
If that's
to
a
kind of,
thing on
jump
equipment,
into.
then
and
they should stack.
you know, we will ourselves do a better job of course, communicating
And if
back
they get
to
too
the
strong,
community.
then you know,
again, what we're saying now is that we will
decrease
be
their damage
getting,
a little bit
patch notes
to
in
make
front
up
of
for it,
community-
you know?
the community
Maybe
way
it's
earlier
like
in
plus
advance,
2
whether
minions,
through
but
a
they
campfire chat
both do,
or through like a
know,
blog of some sort or any type of communication
50% damage,
so
I
that
don't
you
know.
guys can get a better chance at looking at patch notes beforehand,
Oh,
seeing
that's-
any type
that'd
of
be
changes
awesome,
that might
guy.
be
That'd
coming
be
down
awesome.
beforehand, because I think communication was key here. I think you guys not seeing.
I'm not
what we were
saying it
planning
won't
on
be
doing,
game of the
us-
year still,
us
all right?
kind of giving that vision,
Sometimes you gotta-
really affected.
I'm not gonna say it.
A lot of
I'm drinking some hopium.
response
All right.
from you guys, and I think if we just provided that over to everyone
Hopefully
and gave a little bit more of a
the
heads up, I
community
think it would
smacking them in the
helped a
mouth
whole
for
lot
this.
there, from that specific
we
situation.
go forward
Yeah,
in
I
a better way.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was
It
just
took,
going to say,
it took Halo Infinite like a year.
I think
for
that's
this kind of thing to
absolutely
come out of
one
their
part of
mouth.
it. And you were.
We do gotta look at the bright
you
side of
were
that. They did
talking
make a
about
mistake
it
a couple
in
days
more
later.
Full way, but I want to
You know,
really
they're
make sure
acknowledging
that,
it.
like,
Hey, this
one of
was
the
too much
really,
without saying anything.
great points of
This is what
feedback
we have
that
coming
we've
out
been
in a
seeing
couple
is, like,
weeks.
Why can you
and we'll
nerf
be better
things
going
today
forward.
and then buff things
Yes.
far in the future, right? And so what we're
At least
saying
they're
is
reacting the
not
correct
only
way.
is there a change to communication,
We've seen companies just completely
but we're also going
disappear
to
after something like this.
pair changes like that together, so that we don't have exactly the situation that players have called out as unfair.
Yeah,
Yep,
10.
most definitely.
What he would
And
have
of
been
course,
legendary.
with 111
What's going on, Zero?
coming really soon, we are committing to another campfire chat next week, next Friday. Probably the same time. We'll confirm. More
Also,
than likely it'll
didn't
be 11
anticipate
a.m.
this
next
being an
Friday.
hour.
We'll end up posting about
Plus.
the details
That's
over
incredible.
next week. So that just as a reminder to the community, and there we'll actually go through all
Oh,
the
yeah, that one guy. You won the
the
Threeg
changes
Piece
that we just
yesterday,
talked
so I
about
gave
here
you
into
the
greater
raffle.
detail.
I gave you
Joe, I know
25,000.
will end up providing
So,
greater detailed
shout out,
changes
you did.
on like the barbarian and sorcerer adjustments that we're going to be making based off of
We'll do a
community
quick
feedback.
raffle.
And then of course we'll also be talking about just essentially everything in the patch notes for that. Patch 111 will be coming out in a couple weeks with us having a stream next Friday. I anticipate it being very soon or shortly after the stream specifically. So, and again, we do have a hotfix today that we will be rolling out this afternoon. We'll be having notes related to that hotfix here
Join the raffle,
really
y'all.
soon. And there's a lot of changes in there.
This is gonna be a
including
short one.
The Nightmare Dungeon changes that we talked about today. So, again,
Where are the patch notes?
thank you guys for the feedback. We most definitely hear you
Well, you
loud
won
and
yesterday,
clear.
dude.
You know, it's something that
Shout
we
out you.
wanted to address, and it's something very.
And then you gave
know,
somebody something
important
today
for the
and made
team
them win,
here,
dude.
For us to
Good
actually
energy.
address the
Good
community
energy.
and talk to you guys more about it, and also change some of the ways that we were doing specific items or specific processes. So we really do appreciate the feedback. Of course, continue providing feedback to us. It's really important for
Maybe he only
the
won
game
10.
itself and for us to make a better experience for the players out there. So thank you guys again for tuning in. We'll see you next Friday for the next Campfire Chat to talk about patch 111 and all the changes that are coming up. Really appreciate it.
Give me your thoughts. Let me know down below. What did you guys think about all that? Especially those who were here for most of it. Look at that shit. What do you guys think? Could have handled a lot worse. I agree. It could have been worse. I don't like the left Joe. I like the middle Joe. He's good people. But the one on the left, like, it's like he decided that he was gonna be the heel of it almost, you know? But the buff coming out for the source and the barb, especially in 1.1.1, should help to alleviate. We'll see what they do for the patch notes. Hopefully we have them next Friday with the fireside chat. And then we'll see what they do with the hotfix today. I'm sure we'll see some patch notes for that at some point. But we'll see what they do with that. But, I mean, they can only go up from here, I think. If they start nerfing some more stuff, I think they're going to lose a huge chunk of their player base, and I don't think they can have that. So, you're taking off, Jukes. I appreciate you being here. Yeah, this stream's about to end, so make sure you guys hurry up and get your raffle tickets in if you want them. We're about to end this. We'll be back tomorrow. We'll do the dragon. It'll be a nice kind of, I don't want to say fast stream, but it's not going to be a giant stream. We'll log in, join the boys, and we're gonna go hunt the dragon and kill him. So we'll do that tomorrow. I'll double check on the Discord what time we want to do it in particular, but I assume it to be maybe 1 p.m. PST, give or take. So we'll see what the Discord says. Make sure you join the Discord, hit the link tree down below to follow us everywhere, and we'll see what they do with this. We'll see what they do. I don't know how I'm still not happy. I don't think anybody in the community is happy. We'll see what they do. I appreciate you guys being here. Anybody that popped on for the first time, shout out you. That one guy, I appreciate you gifting a sub to Blessed. And that's all I got, guys. Have a hell of a weekend. We'll be back tomorrow. And until then, fucking bye! How do I forget the raffle? Like, oh god. I am special. I can never figure out where to actually... Yeah, the pick the winner is always in a weird ass spot. Oh, look, you won, Rouge. Shout out. Good job. You finally won. Woo! Yeah. Incredible. Yeah. Bye.